sent me a video of my childhood. I now know the disgusting things my parents did to me. I was confused when I received a dusty DVD in my mailbox with no postmark or stamp. Someone had left it there, and the reason is so much worse than I ever could have imagined. In bold, Sharpie black letters, the disc read, Ballet Recital, 1992. The footage started normal enough, living up to the title written so neatly on the disc. I found myself watching a tiny version of me, little Amanda Schneider in ballet flats and a puffy pink tutu, twirling aimlessly around a stage with other 6-year-olds who twirled with the same childish aimlessness. I was just picking up my phone to call Mom and thank her for my gift when the footage suddenly cut out. In a dark room, lit ruthlessly in the face by some off-screen source, sat a woman. She was wearing a ballet outfit, tutu and all, not unlike the one I wore in my recital video. On top of her head was a mussed ballerina bun, sadly askew. Her cheeks were covered in almost equal measure with third-degree burn scars and streaky, smudged mascara. Over her mouth was a thick strip of duct tape. Had it not been for the burn scars, I might not have recognized her, but I did. It was my childhood best friend, Gretchen Hartman. Oh my God, I said to no one in particular. It had been years, probably 9 or 10 since I'd seen her. Probably nearly that long since she'd even crossed my mind. Tears leaked from Gretchen's eyes, the normal one and the disfigured one. She kept shaking her head, looking off camera at someone, or something. Suddenly, Gretchen's eyes popped wide open. She tried to scream in pain, but it was muffed by the duct tape. The footage cut off her following scream, going immediately to black. I sat there for a long moment, dumbstruck. Then across the screen in tall white letters, standing out against the black like bones in tar, involved the police, and she dies. These hovered before me then. Wait for more. And then it was over. My hand hovered over my iPhone anyway. How would whoever had sent the DVD know whether I had called the police? Well, that was simple enough. They knew where I lived. That was obvious. The DVD hadn't been mailed to my house. It had been placed in the mailbox like a horrible little present. Why me? And why of all people Gretchen? I heeded the DVD's warning and didn't call the cops. After a night of sleep, I still wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. Gretchen and I hadn't spoken in years. I wasn't even friends with her on Facebook and didn't have her family's contact information. I considered calling my mom, but I didn't really want her involved in this either. I was holding my iPhone in one sweaty palm, going over my options the way my grandmother used to worry over a small, smooth stone with an imprint for her thumb when it occurred to me. Wait for more. I ran out to the mailbox, even though I knew the chain-smoking mailman wouldn't be around for another few hours, and was less than surprised to see another slim, clear plastic case resting inside. I pulled it out and cringed when I read what was printed on it. The same blocky, permanent marker print. Softball game, 1995. Oh no, this was only going to get worse. I sighed. I put the DVD in my laptop. I held my breath. The opening footage was shaky, focused on 9-year-old me, growing girl Amanda Schneider at bat during a sweaty summer baseball game. Knobby knees, awkward elbows, my favorite beat-up Dodgers hat on my head. I watched as I looked over my shoulder, unsure towards the camera in the stands. "Don't look at me, Mandy! Look at the pitcher!" A deep, masculine voice boomed. I covered my face with my hands, knowing what was coming, but peeked through my fingers. 9-year-old me glanced back towards the mound, just a hair too late. The baseball zoomed past without a swing. "Oh, Jesus H. Christ!" the voice came again. "Shut up," I thought bitterly. "Shut up, shut up! I'm just a kid!" "Strike one," called the umpire. I hated those practices. I hated baseball too after a while. The ball flew right past me again. Strike two. The pitcher wound up, rocketed another screamer across the plate. I swung, tipped off the ball. The catcher caught it, no sweat. Strike three. "Typical," said my stepdad, and lowered the camera just as it cut to Gretchen again. She was in the same dark room, same harsh light on her pale face. Freckles and scar tissue stuck out in brilliant contrast. Cockeyed on her head was a faded blue hat with the iconic interconnected L and A. I was shocked to realize it was the hat, the same hat from the video, the favorite hat I thought I lost when I moved out of that awful yellow house for good. She was weeping, mouth still covered with duct tape. It looked fresh. Her hair, once bright red and kinky, hung limp in her face. It was the color of old rust. Gretchen leaned forward, sagging against her bonds. She looked exhausted. My hat teetered on her head but didn't fall. The next 2 minutes were just of her sobbing quietly into the duct tape. Then, cut to black. Jogging any memories? A pause. Then, figure it out. Wait for more. No cops. Then, or she dies. There were no new clues in the footage to tell me where Gretchen was being held, or if there was anything I could do other than my Dodgers cap. And what did that mean? For all I knew, Mom had donated it to Goodwill when I left for college. I was left with nothing. I couldn't do this alone. After a few hours of thinking, I picked up my iPhone and jabbed out a text message to my best friend Aaron. "Can you come over? I need your help with something. Don't tell anyone, it's super urgent." I hesitated, and before I could talk myself out of it, hit send. While I stared at my phone, waiting for Aaron to reply, I thought about how I'd quit baseball 2 weeks after that video had been shot. Clay had been furious. Mom was the only reason I wasn't forced to go back. For the rest of the summer, I hid in my room and tried to imagine what life would have been like if my dad hadn't gotten sick all those years ago. Aaron typed back, "Sure, babe, on my way." I responded, "Thanks, can you do me a favor and check the mailbox on your way in?" I ran to the door, nearly slipping on the hardwood in my socked feet. I opened it to see Aaron, She was holding a new DVD case. "Is this what you were looking for?" she asked, puzzled, and held it up towards me. "School play, 1998. It took me about an hour to explain everything to Erin. At first, she thought I was messing with her. She had this look on her face like she was waiting for me to burst out laughing and say, 'Just kidding.' But that look went away when I played her the first DVD. "Jesus Christ," Erin said, putting a hand over her mouth. She glanced from me to the screen, back to me. She was silent, staring at the video until the final warning message flashed across the screen. "Involve the police and she dies." "You have to do something, Amanda," Erin said at last. She'd gone pale. Her skin was the color of rotten milk. "I'm scared to watch it, Erin." "Me too," she said, but took it out of the case anyway. "We have to, though. You know that, right?" I clicked play. I already knew what to expect. I remembered what play I'd been in the year of 1998. That's why I didn't let out a shocked burst of laughter like Erin did. The opening footage showed a forced environment on stage. A sadly decorated Christmas tree flanked either side, and between them were a motley crew of characters. And there I was, blue checked dress, curled hair in pigtails, glittery red shoes, wide ingenue eyes. In a cheerily false projected voice, 12-year-old me said, "That's right, Toto, back to Kansas, because there's no place like home for the spirit of Christmas." If you hadn't seen this before, you would have missed the part where my real smile faltered and nearly disappeared when I spotted the camera in the audience. It was only a moment, a brief flicker across my face, but 12-year-old me corrected quickly and went back to soaking up the applause with grace. The footage cut to Gretchen like I knew it would. She was dressed up like Dorothy, just like me. Another strip of fresh duct tape. I wondered briefly where her glasses had gone. She hadn't been wearing them in any of the videos. Did her kidnapper take them from her? Did she wear contacts now? Was this a clue, like Erin had said? The video stopped, freezing Gretchen in a pose where she was staring miserably at whoever was behind the camera. I began to panic, wondering if the footage had been corrupted, and saw that Erin had paused it. "What are you doing?" I demanded frantically. She held up one manicured hand. Erin was staring hard at the screen. "Just look for a minute. Study everything. We can't see much, but there might be something here." I had this crawly feeling, like I just wanted to watch the video and get it over with, but I leaned forward and looked too. It was just a dark room, a stupid dark room with nothing in it, only the light and the chair and Gretchen. And of course the camera. "I don't see," I began, then stopped. Behind her, barely visible, was wallpaper. That was it. It had to be wallpaper. It was this dirty gold color with splotches of brown and pea soup green. "What?" Erin said, but I waved a hand at her to shush. I leaned closer to the screen. When I squinted, the splotches turned into flowers. Flowers being choked by winding leafy plants that were probably vines. But, they looked like plants, I whispered, and all at once my breakfast was in my throat. I knocked over my office chair getting to the bathroom. I barely made it to the sink before the contents of my stomach burst out of me in a hot, vile rush. Clay drove me home after the play. Mom was working, but she saw the first half, and that was okay because the play was pretty dumb anyway. "You did a good job up there, Mandy," he said, not taking his eyes off the road. It was the first nice thing he'd said to me since I couldn't remember when. "Thanks," I said, staring out the window glumly. I was back in my school clothes and parka, but I'd kept the curled pigtails because they made me feel pretty, like Judy Garland in the real movie about Oz. I traced mindless patterns in the frost on the car window. I know I give you a hard time." Clay still wouldn't look at me, but his voice got softer somehow, so I chanced to glance at him out of the corner of my eye. "I was mad when you quit baseball because I knew you could do better, that's all." I didn't say anything, waited for him to go on. "But tonight, up there," he let out a low whistle between his teeth. "You were great, Mandy, you really were. Clay drifted off again, then looked at me and favored me with a rare smile. "You shone." My chest felt hot and tight. I offered a small smile back. "Thanks, Clay," I said shyly. His good nature was so unfamiliar to me, I wasn't quite sure what to do, but he didn't say anything else. When we got home, Clay stayed silent. He simply sat down and started watching TV. "Thanks for coming to my play, it was nice of you." He didn't respond. I took that as a win and padded my way to the bathroom, locking the door behind me. The girl in the mirror stared back like she wasn't sure who I was. I turned my head to the side, admiring how mascara lengthened my lashes. I pursed my lips together, red, like Dorothy wore in the movie. If I hadn't been so deep in thought, maybe I would have heard the click at the doorknob, the sound of the lock being disengaged, the quiet whoosh of the door opening. "I told you that you shine," Clay said softly. I turned, covering my private areas with my hands, trying to shield my budding breasts from his view. You can't be in here," I yelped. He took another step towards me, closed the door behind him, locked it. I backed against the wall next to the toilet. I had nowhere else to go. "You can't be in here," I said again weakly, but he was moving towards me, and all I could do was turn away and press my face against the vine and flower wallpaper. Erin was holding my hair back as I bent over the sink, retching, saying soothing words into my ear. I was sweating. I didn't speak for a long time, but when I did, I said through a mouth that tasted like vomit, "I know where she is."